Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Daily Footy and Other Sport with yours truly, Taz, and of course, um, Shawnita over there. I don't really know where or why he's wearing a wig, but he's felt the need to do it, and I'm not really in a position to stop him
It's
because we're all in our
it's
respective homes. So there you go, Shawnita for the day. Sean's got a couple of
what
quick things he'd like
some people have
to.
long hair.
Yeah, but
What's wrong with long hair?
they've
Rest.
seen Sean, they've seen you for the last video, so you're not going to suddenly just grow hair that fast, even though you're in isolation. Um, so a couple of quick things. A few of you may have heard in our last couple of videos that Wimbledon's being went into emergency discussions. I can now confirm that has been postponed, if not cancelled completely. And
Breaking
additionally,
news.
well, as breaking as it can be. And additionally, they have, until further notice, also postponed, maybe even cancelled, both the Champions League and the Europa League. So it does look like they are really trying to make sure that if anything is going to get done this season, it's just the leagues. And that's their primary focus. Not much to sort of discuss with this. They're just purely announcements, and Sean and I have discussed these various topics in the past, so we're not going to regurgitate or repeat ourselves. We'll save you the spiel there. Sean's got a couple of very, very quick updates, and then we've got one big topic that we want to discuss, not in too much length, and then we've got transfer rumours. I know a lot of you probably been wondering where on earth the transfer rumours have vanished off to, so we've got a couple of them to discuss with you. After you, Shawnita.
So it's a long hair. Some wrestlers have long hair. Lots of people in the 80s. So get with the times. So actually, although it's not the 80s. Okay. So first update. There's a brief mention about wrestling. We spoke about Roman Reigns in particular, who has been affected due to coronavirus pandemic. It's good to. I have to announce he's not the only one that has been affected. It's come to everyone's attention that Bobby Lashley actually had contracted the coronavirus infection, and he was in isolation, and he was then being able successfully to compete in the tapings of WrestleMania against Aleister Black. So it's just for a quick mention of that. Rey Mysterio was on isolation, as was Dana Brooks. If you have been watching SmackDown, I should say, you notice that Michael Cole has been by himself. That's because Corey Graves and the certain lady from Queens, she's also been affected by coronavirus, and they're a couple. So I thought we'll give that particular update. Miz has been in isolation, so that may affect the whole SmackDown title picture as well. So now we're going to move on because that's just facts. We're not here to just regurgitate information other than actually mentioning it. So the next point is that Eddie Hearn has confirmed what Taz here had already predicted, that a big fight in May, which included Povetkin versus Dillian White. Povetkin was the guy that lost the fight before AJ was able to regain his championships. So basically, a big fight, Dillian White versus Povetkin, that's been postponed, although he still believes. I'm going to wait for Taz to say it's not going to happen, but
It's not going to happen.
That AJ.
There you go. It's been said.
AJ is going to have a fight, yeah. But Taz would like to mention the next quite a big boxing story, which we may elaborate a bit further on, because unfortunately, during isolation, there are sometimes problems if you're stuck with someone, and there's been a reported increase of domestic violence, and it's going to lead on to our particular boxing topic we're going to discuss now.
Yeah, I think a lot of you have probably heard this story. It's from a day or so ago regarding world champion Joe Saunders. Actually, a double announcement regarding him. First and foremost, I think a lot of you are fully aware that he basically made a rather derogatory and rather idiotic comment. where he's using a punch bag and he's sort of explaining how you react, in his words, if your old woman is giving you mouth, and then showing how to hit her on the chin. Idiotic, very immature, and he's basically, just sounding like he's encouraging and promoting, violence in the household, and it's just not right. I mean, he later apologizing says he'd never condone domestic violence, but quite simply, you're in a position where if you're going to text something, if you're going to post a video, you can basically redo the video. I'm assuming. I'm guessing it wasn't a live video. If it was, then have a script or something silly like that. But I mean, the second part to that is the fact that he's also now had his boxing license suspended by the British Boxing Board of Control after he released the video. So I don't know whether that would automatically affect the fact that he's going to lose his title, because he is, of course, the WBO super middleweight champ. He's trying to make up for it by saying he's going to donate 25 grand to domestic violence charities. I mean, if you did that anyway, because you've either seen or experienced something like that yourself, then fair enough, it's a really good gesture. But he's not. The sad thing is he's not really doing it because he's maybe experienced it. Perhaps he has, but he's doing it almost as like I can't believe I said that. He's called it a silly mistake, and he said he obviously wasn't thinking, which is pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say about that. Yeah. But what are your quick thoughts on it?
It's a prevalent. Yeah. So it's well. First off, as Eddie Hearn has said, what he referred to him as.
What are you holding?
And Eddie Hearn. Oh, so this is like a Super Nintendo scope one. If you get bored,
why are you holding
you can play retro games.
This is something
I'd like to use.
Yeah, you're only allowed one weird. You're only allowed one weird thing at a time, and you've chosen the wig. So,
that's my hair. So on an all serious note, Eddie Hearn has called him a prat, referred to him as a prat, and he said he's basically cost himself a major fight against Canelo, the major pound for pound big boxing guy in the whole of boxing. He's going to have his trilogy fight with GGG anyways, which is another huge fight that's going to happen. But it's just the fact that we're talking about a very serious matter. There are some times when you can joke about certain jokes which may not be tolerated to an extent, but domestic violence is a situation where many people lose their lives, where we're actually stuck with a lot of people, and we may get frustrated with other people. I'm sure this it happens when everyone pairs up with each other, and to encourage even a joke about it, it's not the right time, and it's just.
I mean, it's
like
punished for being bad. It's like one of those things that you could be the two nicest people in the world, the nicest couple in the world, and they might even throw that joke at each other. I don't even want to use the word joke. It's not. But they wouldn't put it on video. They wouldn't post it on social media or something like that, because they've got the know-how and the sense to not even think of doing that, to not encourage that, to not promote that, because it's not a laughing matter, and he shouldn't have been doing it to begin with.
Yeah, he's a role model. At the end of the day,
the second you become a famous face, you are a role model, and you've got responsibility to give people a reason to support you, and not the opposite.
Exactly. So the thing is, a lot of people may make the jokes, but these guys, it's the price you pay for being on the spotlight of a tough sport, and they get rewarded handsomely with a big figure. And Billy Joe Saunders, he has to understand, although it's been said that some boxers may be advised to leave, there are some other boxers that may, as a result, take the opportunity. Let me just see his name. A new rising boxing star, for example, has just got signed by Eddie Hearn, called Akif Fiaz. So I know that it's just the fact
you're obsessed.
Yeah. So anything can happen, and so Billy Joe Saunders needs to understand, and it's a good topic to talk about because at the end of the day, if you encourage bad things, you should be punished.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's only thing working in his favor is the fact that he's getting a suspension, but there's no action sort of available in the foreseeable future. So it's dependent on whether this ban is going to be imposed, or is it a ban? I mean, it's a cancellation of his license, isn't it? Whether they do impose a ban, and whether the ban is going to basically begin when action sort of becomes live again and resumes, or whether it's likely to be from now, which doesn't seem very fair because nothing is going on, sadly, because there are more important things in the world to deal with.
And the fact is the media can be quite fickle in the sense that it could be easily forgotten information. That's what you're basically saying, that by the time boxing may resume, they may publish a lot of positive about Billy Joe Saunders and quickly refer it as a silly mistake, and then he helped to fight against domestic violence. Something you expect the Daily Fail or the Sun to say. So you never know; it could be twisted. So that's why we're mentioning it now.
Absolutely, but it was something we wanted to mention. But our main topic for the day, I'm not going to hopefully take too long again on this, but it's something we've not actually done for a couple of episodes actually, and transfer rumors. What we're going to do is we're going to use a source that's got a number of rumors for different clubs and different players, and we're going to just quickly breeze through these rumors. Do we think they make sense? And have a quick explanation. If applicable, do they seem farcical? Yeah, we'll just breeze through these. First and foremost, I mean, Sean and I saw this rumor yesterday, I think it was. Interesting one. I mean, Paul Pogba was obviously rumored to be leaving Old Trafford. Some people seem to think maybe he won't. Maybe he wants to play with Bruno Fernandes. One of the two clubs he's linked to is obviously Real Madrid, and the other one Juventus again. The suggestion is that he will. Well, the suggestion is that he might go to Juve, and United might revive their interest in Matthijs de Ligt, centre back, that they were interested in last summer, but who ended up going to Juve, has not had a great season. So I mean, I guess realistically, looking at their valuations, we're probably talking about, I don't know, Pogba going that way with 30, 40 million, I guess, coming towards United as well as him, if that was the case. Do you really think Juve are going to let him go?
So this is actually quite extraordinary situation because we're talking about a defender that was highly coveted throughout Europe. Perhaps I've never seen a player in recent times that was actually poached by most of the big clubs. Only Real Madrid didn't actually go for him. He was spotted at every city where every club was trying to give him a great package. Once he was at one point, it looked like he was either at PSG, Barca, or Man United. So we're talking about a player that, for whatever reason, has not been able to deliver the goods. Maybe it didn't help that Chiellini was injured, and therefore therefore Juventus had lost their main fulcrum of the defense. And it didn't also help that Sarri, just like in his first season at Chelsea, has had a bit of an iffy season at Juventus, in which a lot of players weren't actually used to his system. And what has happened at Juventus itself is that a lot of the new players has not had the opportunity to have a big impact, whether it's Rabiot or Ramsey, who have also been super subs at times, and Matthijs de Ligt. And that's not helped Juventus. So it's a bit of a interesting dilemma. And do they go for something they know? And it's really interesting because we spoke a lot about Man United's solidity. At the same time, though, they do need to perhaps look at the defensive issues furthermore, despite, I think,
not in the same. It's not the central problem. Let's make that clear, because it's not a disaster. The defenders that are there, the centre back partnerships that are there, that there would be, it would be ideal if there was more fitness consistencies, and arguably, maybe one more better player in there. But it's not been a disaster. The problems have come in the midfield, and the lack of depth up front to an extent, meaning that if you lose a player like Rashford, bye in deep trouble. So I wouldn't cry about it if we didn't get him, but it would be incredible if we did.
So then that raises a point. I don't want to get too fixated on Manchester United, but it does raise an interesting dilemma. No club has got a unlimited fund, a war chest
Certainly
to
not
spend.
right now.
And
no.
Exactly. So if a club needs money, like as you said, to address more of the attacking positions, and Pogba is a source of a great increase of financial power, then would you want to go for a position where it may not benefit the club? And likewise with Juventus, which is even more extraordinary, they have got a great amount of midfielders, including given a new contract to Matuidi. They had to get rid of Emre Can, who I believe is a very underrated defensive midfielder that's helped transform Dortmund to another level. Everyone talks about Haaland, but Emre Can has helped Dortmund, except for his red card against PSG. So it's another interesting dilemma that it doesn't perhaps suit either club. But at the same time, Juventus could take advantage of the fact that Real Madrid wants to prioritize their big money signing on a certain man from PSG, who may not even go to leave PSG if rumors suggest that he's unavailable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a funny one, that one. I mean, I think, given that I'd prioritize the centre back position the last, last of all. I think more important to get other positions sorted first, and would be a cool trade if you are going to lose a player like that. But given the money that might come in, better to sort of use it on other players. Move on. Spurs are confident of keeping Harry Kane even if they fail to qualify for next season's Champions League. I mean, there's a lot of rumours about him thinking about moving on. Do you think they can keep him? Do you think Champions League will be a factor?
Okay, so here's another interesting dilemma about that. Just like with Paul Pogba being linked to Juventus, who can realistically lure Harry Kane? We did speak about Man United needing an attacking force, but with all due respect, it's not a step up right now.
Not
You
at
may
that price.
disagree.
Not at that price. You lose your budget, or at least you lose an expensive player and like a medium price player, if you want to call him, someone who's about 50 odd million. If you try it and you give up that just to get Harry Kane, no thanks.
No. He's better than what you guys got. But what I was trying to say is that Harry Kane can only go to elite few clubs. Barcelona have also been linked with him, but they're going to spend most of the money on Neymar. They are more strongly linked with Lautaro Martinez of Inter Milan. And Harry Kane wouldn't go to Inter Milan. He only wants to go to a club that guarantees him trophies if he was ever to leave Tottenham. And here's another twist. Look how they have treated Gareth Bale. It's a lot of clubs, unfortunately, if you're not from the same country, they may treat you differently. They don't
He's lost. I think he's lost a lot of sympathy from me though in recent years, because he's spending all his time. Yeah, he's spending all his time crying about the fact that they don't like him. Okay, we get it. They don't like him.
He doesn't.
He
doesn't.
Yes, he does.
Jonathan Barnett.
He is always whining about the fact that, oh, they don't get along with me. He is constantly. He's constantly talking about that.
Which source? No, that's Jonathan Barnett. Jonathan Barnett would say it, and he did have a good point. His agent would say it, not Bale.
Oh,
For
come
example,
on.
Barnett
He didn't exactly look chipper after winning the Champions League. Look, it's clear he doesn't get along with his players. It's clear he doesn't get along with the fans, and he keeps on having a little cry about it instead of just saying, look, if they're going to be like that, I'm either going to shut up about it and just keep playing, or I'm going to move. And he still stays.
He didn't.
So
he didn't. He said he wants more game time, which is understandable. And in that time, he wasn't playing a lot of games. He won Real Madrid that Champions League, although Loris Karius was the
Yeah,
VIP. So I may
but what
take
happens
that
when
back.
it's not the right fit? There are so many elements to the right fit. The manager, the fans, the team you play with. We could see what the problem was. The fans weren't a fan of him, as Zidane wasn't a fan of him. And then he just sort of continued going, oh, God, why don't they like me? But I'll stay here.
No, but
So
he still played. He still. Are you talking about the summer when he was linked to possibly go to China?
it's not the only time he's every I can 2-3 seasons at least of this, and at least summers of this, and it's just I like the first season I got it, I could see it, it just didn't look right, it wasn't really fair on him. But if you're gonna have
He won the Champions League in his first season. He
nevertheless
won the Champions League.
if you're gonna look, either shut up and stop complaining or make a move. Just stop giving us
I'd
the
like
grumpy
to see
face.
sources.
Um,
I've been a bit argumentative
it's
here
fine.
because I'm
It's fine.
biased towards him.
We'll move on because we'll let Sean do his research on that.
No. We haven't finished the Kane conversation there. So whatever, regardless of our opinions on Gareth Bale, Kane has only got a few clubs available that would actually be able to purchase him, and that includes Real Madrid, Barcelona, and maybe Juve. These clubs are also looking at Pogba, and the player that plays a big role in the possibility of him leaving is Kylian Mbappe. And if he doesn't go, then would Real Madrid then go for Pogba? Because Madrid needs a new midfielder, because Luka Modric, unfortunately, has lost the legs. Toni Kroos, he's still a bit young. He's 29, but he's not that fast anymore. So Pogba does cause a factor for Real Madrid, and therefore does Harry Kane then think about, in which he alluded to on an Instagram interview with Jamie Redknapp, do I actually spend at least one more season with a proven manager? Although he may have lost a lot of his mystique, does he try to play with a manager who actually has his first full season? Mourinho needs a full season in order to slowly show his coaching methods, because that's what his whole career has been about.
When you say his coaching methods, do you mean draining the energy and life out of another club? Because we've seen it. It. We need to move on. We're trying to flick through these, and you're making them too long. Very quick on this. Apparently, Jadon Sancho again. United and Chelsea are set to go head to head in a battle to sign Jadon Sancho. Liverpool apparently pulled out of being in the mix. Do you really think Chelsea are in the mix? Firstly, given that they've just got Ziyech, doesn't make any sense to me financially. United seem like the only place he really wants to go to if he comes back to the UK. United seem to prioritize him as the number one target. It's exactly what you want to hear as a player. Does it even sound like a head-to-head battle, or is it more of a battle between United and Dortmund coming to an agreement?
It could be a possibility of that as well, but let's not forget that Chelsea wants to get rid of quite a few wingers themselves. Pedro has alluded to that his career is over at Chelsea because of the coronavirus situation. He's worried about his isolation from his children. Willian has also alluded to that he's not getting the contract length that he wants, but they still do have a number of players on Chelsea's width. They've got a young Pulisic, they've got a young Odoi.
It's the youth that's the key factor. Because if they didn't have young players that were actually already making an impact, then fair enough. But they don't. They have actually got young players who are coming through. So, and they've just bought a winger in Ziyech. So I just don't see it happening because of that signing that they've made. It might have been more of a conversation otherwise, but I just can't see that happening for me. Even though he's a London boy, that's probably the only factor for me. But
let's throw another spanner. I'm gonna throw another spanner there. Like, there's a club I don't think he really wants to go to, and Pep Guardiola has dismissed the possibility. There's a club that's got first choice of being able to sign him again. And if Man United aren't able to make the Champions League, And if I'm personally being honest, why would you want to go to even any Chelsea, who did look a level below Chelsea, a level below Bayern Munich, or why would you want to go to Bayern United when you've got a young, exciting team that has stepped up even further due to the acquisition of Haaland and Emre Can? I would rather, maybe because he's homesick, there's something we do not know. I'm talking virtually based on a football perspective. We've got a side that's challenging for the Bundesliga.
True.
And that was and you said yourself, your top 10 forwards that you selected were heavily based on German Bundesliga-based players, Werner, Lewandowski, and Haaland. So, and he's a young player, he's improving, and Man United is still a side that are through transition. And we do not know who they're going to get to help support Sancho. If they were to sign Sancho, who's going to help support him? Because Pogba might leave. And as we
Actually, that's
suggest,
quite an easy one, because even though we think that Lingard's going to leave, they get along pretty well. He gets along very well with Rashford. There's a really good core English setup there as well, which is actually quite nice to hear when you're an English side. And you remember the days when there were just so many international players. When you're an English side and you got so many more English players, homegrown players, than you have international ones, it gives you a better idea of selecting certain players rather than just trying to buy everyone in your squad. Man City. Okay, we need to move on again. So it's interesting you mentioned
Man United signing a lot of players in their squads.
Yeah, but how many of them are homegrown? I mean, that's the point I'm trying to make. You know, these guys get a better chance in the national setup if they're actually given an opportunity from their club. Mind you, I still don't understand how Phil Jones keep getting into the England side back in the day. But
still, Leo Sané is going to leave to Bayern Munich. Man City won't have a slot available, and that's interesting about Sancho.
I just don't see any way that he's going to go back. No way. It was just the wrong scenario, and wasn't Guardiola in charge when he left? Pogba came back to a club not run by Fergie, and that was where the initial falling out came from. So, yeah, different scenario. It's interesting you mentioned Bale though, because Everton are planning huge summer bids apparently for both Bale and Juve's Aaron Ramsey. Man, that would be an interesting pair of signings.
Two Welsh players, two Welsh legends.
Yeah, they're both really, really nice guys as well. So I think they'll get along with everyone. And I just don't.
Wait, I thought he's a whiny guy. I thought he's two nice guys. I thought Bale was whiny.
He is a good guy. But the thing is, he's having. I keep saying he's complaining about the fact that things aren't really like lovely and homely for him, but he remains there. So I mean, like a lot of people would move on if it just doesn't feel like the right fit, but he stays, and that's what I'm, agitated by. He's actually a really cool, grounded guy. Ramsey's exactly the same.
He's biased because they're both from Cardiff. He's biased. They're both from Cardiff.
Wow. I mean, it's a bonus, but no. I mean, there are. Hey, hang on a minute. How can I be biased when Dan James is from Swansea? We bought him from Swansea.
Oh yeah.
Yo, Wally.
Good point.
Okay. Next one. Next one.
No, you didn't let me talk about. Well, what my point of view about the signings
do you want to? Go on then.
Oh, thank you. I thought
you have
this
1
is
minute.
The daily.
I'm supposed to zip through these.
Okay. Okay, so Everton, they've got a good, decent midfield. They've got Gomez returning. I think they need to perhaps look for maybe the width side of Bale. I think Bale shouldn't be going down too quickly towards Everton because they're still not even top 10. I think they're just basically top 10. Bale should look for probably a side that is perhaps challenging for a league because he still performs to a good level, whether he's playing at regularly at Real Madrid or not. And same thing with Ramsey. He's adjusting at a new team, new league. He needs time to adjust, and it wouldn't be fair for him to get thrown. But what's interesting about these links that Bale is not wanted at Real Madrid, and Ramsey may not be wanted either, because Matuidi had his contract extended. It seemed like Sarri likes the old guard, and they need to get rid of Rabiot or Ramsey if they want to make space for Pogba. And Man United's Gomez, they've been linked with him as well. So it's a fascinating situation,
God, I
maybe
don't know.
about a necessity. It's a
Oh.
necessity rather than a need.
Well, yeah, I mean,
For
they've
the
actually
for
been one
them
of
to
the few
buy.
clubs I've actually, I'd like to think, when they've come out of certain windows, you just think, wow, they've bought really good players, and they've just been really underwhelming, to be honest. So
Does
maybe they actually
does
need,
Everton have?
maybe they need a bit of proven quality in there rather than potential or decent players. They need some very, very good world class players. We'll move on again.
Yeah. Does
Uh-oh.
Everton have a good link with? I know my niece wants to come. She likes my hair. Millie Billy of YouTube. Feel free to check.
Well, Jack Grealish is apparently still expected to leave Villa. We'll see. I think that's the only thing I can say about that. We'll see about that. There's only one place it
Maybe.
makes sense that he'd go, but I mean, he might have just scuppered his own move.
Let's throw a spanner at this whole situation. You spoke about Ramsey. We spoke about Jack Grealish. Yes, Everton have got a good relationship with Juventus now because of Moise Keane's situation. However, imagine Jack Grealish
I don't think Moise
has
Keane
lost
does.
the chance to go to. Yeah, but imagine a Jack Grealish. Oh, maybe Moise Keane, because Ancelotti, the Italian-speaking manager, may help him understand. And Duncan Ferguson's treatment of Moise Keane has actually made him work harder on the pitch, or when he got subbed as a substitute. But anyway, it's going to allude to the fact that maybe Jack Grealish has cost his spot at an elite club, but may still earn him a transfer. Man United may want to get rid of Pogba, but go for a proven Premiership midfielder that's quite young. So Ramsey may get. What if he gets involved with the whole Pogba transfer? Jack Grealish then ends up going to Everton, and then you guys get Ramsey. Juventus gets Pogba, and you get money as well, because they're not the same caliber. It could be more beneficial for Man United.
I can't see that happening, if I'm honest. I just feel like the links he's having, they're not really. I haven't seen a single link to mid-table clubs. It's like it's Liverpool, it's United. Those sides are the ones that are being banded around. It just feels like.
Well, he's affected himself. He's just affected himself, and he's not good enough to get to a Liverpool side.
Well, maybe so, but I think what's annoying is like I'm so excited about the potential of him coming, and I'm less excited after his, rather immature behavior. But I don't know. I'll hold my thoughts on him, I think, for the moment.
It'd be the same as Billy Joe Saunders. It could be the same as Billy Joe Saunders. Like, time will kill the negativity.
Well, I think Billy Joe being a world champion, his reputation is far higher. So he might have tarnished it completely, and he's a world champion. So Grealish is a homegrown Villa player. The world might not know him the way the league does. So, oh gosh, I hate reading this one. United might be forced into paying Alexis Sanchez, who's 31, by the way, a 1.1 annual loyalty fee when he returns from his loan spell at Inter Milan. I mean, he was on loan for a year, so I mean, I don't know why paying him a loyalty fee. It's just absurd.
It explains why he went on the loan in the first place, rather than go. It explains why he went on the loan. Then a lot of players do these things. Neymar deliberately stayed at Barcelona beyond July 31st of that particular year he left, in order to get an apparent loyalty payment. Maybe that was a plan for then Inter Milan to eventually sign him.
Yeah, what happened to the days when people used to get reasonable contracts and then earn the right to get offered more? Yeah, gone are those days, unfortunately. Actually, no, I think Bruno's on a reasonable amount, all things considered. Everything about that guy is just class, really, isn't he? What we got here?
And he speaks about that because I actually, before we started this whole podcast, I was always disagreeing with Taz that I believed he would not be a great player coming from a weaker Portuguese league. And I'm man enough to say, you're right. And this guy was wrong.
That's always nice to hear. Looks less impressive with the hair, but well, we'll deal with that. It's a very, very quick one. There's not much to comment because we don't know anything about these guys really. Arsenal interested in a couple of Ivory Coast siblings. Midfielder Hamid Traore, who's 20, on loan at Sassuolo from Empoli, and his brother Ahmad, who's 17, a winger from Atlanta. There's not much to say really from my perspective. I don't really know these guys, but all I can say is it's always nice if you're buying a pair of brothers, then it's easier for them both to settle if you were to buy both of them because they get along with each other, obviously. And Ivory Coast, I believe they'll be French speakers, and I think they've got a couple of French speakers in the club. I think like Aubameyang, I think is a French speaker, isn't he? So
Aubameyang's actually interesting. That's if he's still there, Aubameyang. He's actually linked to
yes.
even with Real and Barca. Even you guys are Man U.
Yeah.
And speaking of that,
I just don't see that happening.
Atalanta have got a fantastic set of youth players. They actually had a player on loan at Parma who Juventus actually signed in January for a permanent signing to happen in June or July. So that actually, I should have mentioned that beforehand because that young Polish midfielder actually adds further dilemma if they need Pogba in the first place. And it helps the Everton's dilemma if Ramsey could actually be further pushed out of the whole squad in order to look for a new club.
Yeah, it's possible. We shall see, though. A couple of contract updates. Sheffield United are using a video conferencing technology, if I can say that, video conferencing, to continue talks over new contracts for Northern Irishman Ollie Norwood, who's 28, and my good mate, 26-year-old Englishman John Lindstrom. Love that guy. Fancy football dream, that guy. It's pretty much a no-brainer, really. I mean, I think just about every single player in that Sheffield United side has earned contract discussions. Maybe you could argue the strike force is a bit questionable. I don't think their work rate's questionable. It's just the quality that they're bringing, the goals that they're bringing. There isn't quite as much productivity up front. But aside from that, I think these are pretty straightforward contract deals. I don't think they're going to say no.
Well, it depends what you want to get them now to prevent them from being poached. So it's an interesting dilemma in that sense as well. You guys need a midfielder. You can see the appeal of going for him, but again, it could be like a few of your signings over the years where they seem good, but just not a Sir Alex Ferguson quality signing.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we've been seeing so many kind of like big name signings, but not really, types of players that the club is used to, in terms of their all-round playing nature. But you're not going to find many people who disagree with a single signing that Solskjaer's made. We needed a centre-back, he got that. We needed an upgrade to a right-back, he got that. And that guy's probably the best defensive right-back in the league. Some may say, may even stretch towards Europe as well. DJ was supposed to be brought in on a kind of grow into the team basis, and because he started really well, he was overplayed. We can all see that. But he was a good utility player to have. And then, of course, the ownership thought, look, if we get this player in January, they're gonna be delighted with us. Except for the fact that everyone wanted him in the summer, and that didn't happen with Bruno. And then, of course, good and bad. You saw Rashford go down very early in January, and they should have maybe committed to a very good striker if they were going to get a permanent one. It took ages. Ended up with a deadline day signing for Igalo, but that added element of him being a fan endeared himself to the fans, and you knew he was going to actually give everything for the club, and he's backed that up. So
maybe maybe Everton could be a solution for either Norwood or Longstrom. That's another possibility because, as you said, Everton are looking for players. They've been linked to a host of midfielders, including Alan of Napoli. So if they can't get Ramsey, or maybe not Alan, Ancelotti's favourite,
Oh.
maybe they could be poached. So that's why
See-
it's good they're doing a video conferencing.
Well, I mean,
I see what you mean, but I mean, they're in a better position, Sheffield United. You got a settled team. You got players who shouldn't who should basically be saying, well, we are basically mid-table at the moment. You know, if we win our game, we'll be fifth. But we are basically a mid-table team at the moment. So why are we going to go to another mid-table team? We're in a position where we all get along really well. We all play well together. The only step up we should be making is to one of the bigger sides. So it makes complete
I
sense
agree.
that they're actually trying to, they get these
I agree.
contracts done. So
I agree.
Everton.
And I did that purposely. I agree, and I did that purposely because then look at Sancho. He's at if Dortmund were to play Man United right now, there's one club that's winning, no contest. Why would you then go to a lower caliber side that may not even make Champions League? So it's quite but at the same time, there's a reason why
I think
you cannot say no to the biggest club.
Well, I think it's also the question of necessity. Like him going to Liverpool, for example, like with the Werner thing, either of them going to Liverpool as it is right now doesn't make any sense because those spots are occupied by first teamers, high quality players. Fair enough. If you lost one of those players, then maybe it makes sense. I've not seen any signs that that's going to happen just yet. It could, but I'm not sure. But you look at the United setup, and there's a huge gap on the right-hand side. There's no actual right winger. It makes complete sense that a player like him, one of the very best already at his young age, in that position, probably is maybe a bit homesick and wants to play for a very big club. It all makes sense. It's a signing that makes sense. His work rate is exactly the right kind of fit. And he brings a lot of quality to the game as well. So I think
that's
that's
the Man United perspective.
But yeah, but
That's
I mean,
but
all I'm saying is, it's like every single element makes sense. It's a necessity buy, and it's a signing that makes sense, even for him. Maybe he wants to come back. Maybe he comes back.
Lundstrom and Norwood can also say that it's also Man United are a bigger club than Dortmund, and 3-4 years time, Man United, maybe history doesn't suggest it. Recent history doesn't suggest it because Dortmund went for a blip and have become big again. But Man United should arguably be the biggest side in 3-4 years time, just not as Everton should be bigger than Sheffield United in 3-4 years time.
Yeah,
however, we're talking
Lundstrom and Norwood aren't going to go to the bigger side, so they're in a actually really good position right this second. If Everton grow within the next 4 years, because they've been buying really well, it's just not happening. They're not performing well on the pitch. If in 4 years' time Everton have shown that growth, and these guys basically think, well, maybe I may make that move, then fair enough. But right now, it's hard to really kind of, I think, got a huge respect for Sheffield United, and it makes complete sense for those guys to be tied down to new contracts. Got 2 more quick things to do, and then we are going to finish up. We've dragged on again. Leeds United are apparently going to sign French goalkeeper Ilham Meslier, who's 20, on a permanent deal from Lorient if they win promotion to the Premier League. I don't know anything about this guy, I'm afraid. But a young player.
They need a keeper. They need a keeper because Casilla got banned. He got banned for 8 games for racial comments, and so they need a goalkeeper. But I think that's just the start of it. If they were to win promotion, I'm actually disappointed. They were actually. It's quite extraordinary. Did you hear the story? In January, they actually went for 2 megastars to join them, and that they didn't obviously join them at the end, but they went for the ex-PSG duo of Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Edson Cavani to sign for Leeds. This is a possible link that the Qatari owners, QSI, may eventually take over Leeds if they win promotion, and it could mean that it's big things. Yeah, and then I think it would be another ownership that you admire joining, along with the Etihad owners, joining the Premiership mix.
Yeah.
They do
Well,
something a bit
the second
slight.
you come up to the Premier League, you got to take one or two risks. You either buy as many players as you can to be ready for it, or you buy one or two to just add a little bit of stability and strength to the team and keep your core players with varying success. Okay, we've got one more thing, and I just read something quite amusing as well. Well, actually, they're both a bit silly, really. Obviously, you've maybe heard about Karim Benzema and Olivier Giroud having a little lovers' tiff.
Wanted to talk about it for the last few days.
There's not much to say, really. They're just both being silly and immature.
Banned me. He banned me from talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, well, that's basically why the only comment we're doing is literally me going, right, they're having a lovers' tiff. Compared it to go-karting, he said. It's go-karting. But no, the reason I was laughing is because apparently Solskjaer said he's told his players to practice in the gardens with their partners. So they're still getting training in with the help of their other halves. There you go.
That's brilliant. We're talking about Billy Joe Saunders encouraging domestic violence. Now we're talking about the opposite end, where a manager is encouraging unity. And
Yeah.
I've read another. We're talking about pairings. One of my friends, he works at Easy Step Floorings. He actually told me a very interesting story that Dortmund are encouraging players to pair up and to train together because they've gone through the 2 weeks incubation isolation period and they've seen no negative effects, and they want the players to at least work as pairs towards the date of their season being resumed. So it's interesting as well when you're talking about pairings there as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, from my perspective, it's hardly surprising to hear someone like him, saying something like that. You know, he's very humble in the way he says things, and I'm sure he gives the players a bit of a hairdryer treatment in the change room sometimes, but he's always been one of the good guys of football. There's a reason he was always known as the babyface assassin, deadly in front of goal, but always smiling. So,
yeah, Van Persie accused him a few months ago, saying you're too nice, and then Ole was retorted saying, "You don't know how I am at the back." Yeah. Just like with Ferguson, he didn't look always happy. He did obviously hate BBC for a long time and the Sun. However, like there are some things you don't show, as there are some things you do show, and that's the criticism that Jose Mourinho often gets, that you have to leave some things private.
He goes too far. I think it's simple.
I would still say Ole is out of his depth at times. I don't think he may get the benefit of the doubt because of the pandemic, but we've got Pochettino or Allegri is surely more worthy of taking over.
It might have very well extended his position, but I think if and when he leaves, I think the club's going to be in a far better position. As weird as it sounds, whether we're like 6th, 7th, or 8th, we're going to be in a better position because the players he's brought in have without question been the right kind of players, and that's been something that's been lacking since Fergie left, and it's crucial. You know, you've got to have the right kind of players, the right sort of players. That's why with the Sheffield United thing, you've got 2 players they were playing well, know exactly what Sheffield United are all about, and you want to tie those kind of players down. It's exactly what he's done. And exactly why a lot of fans are keen on Sancho, because of his work rate. He's a very cheerful, positive guy, and you know, he obviously adds that quality on the pitch as well. So yep, that's probably a good point to leave on a happy note with Ole. I'd like to sort of say to everyone, you know, I hope you enjoyed Sean's hair, but I suspect there's going to be a lot of laughter or some sort of backlash after this. So, but yeah, as ever, guys, if you like this video, I'm sure you did with Notes That Way with Sean and his hair, then don't forget to like the video, leave your comments below if you've got any kind of questions or indeed issues that you want to raise, or if any disagreement or anything like that. then let us know. And of course, if this is your first time watching us, then please don't forget to subscribe. Of course, it's just there. Sean and I will.
If you don't subscribe, I'll get you. If you don't subscribe, I'll get you like this.
That's it. Sean threatened all of them. But yeah, please remember to subscribe. And Sean and I, as ever, will be back with another video tomorrow. So see you guys later.
More transfer costs.
Well,
Love to see more
maybe,
transfer costs.
yeah. We'll see what
Neymar.
happens, because I mean, we sometimes react. We sometimes plan what we're going to do, and sometimes we're reactive about depending on what comes out in the news. So we could do a lot of transfer news. We might not, but we'll see. See you guys later. Bye now.